Okay, it's recording now. Well, I thought that today I would make a It Gets Better video for a lot of the people who are being bullied in high school, either due to their sexual orientation, race, or their religious affiliation. And in response to a lot of the suicides, although it did happen last year, and no, there was a Spirit Day this year and last year, I still feel like it's something that needs to be discussed, and I'll probably go with the typical trend of discussing my own past discrepancies before I go on to how life can get better for you. Well, for starters, my name is Shamir Griffin. I'm currently a junior attending CSU Bakersfield, a double major in psychology and sociology, and I'll probably graduate with my bachelor's degree this year. I'm also American Indian and black and bisexual. I'm out to my family and friends and some members of my church, actually, and I'm also Christian. I want to talk about, well, growing up in a very religious household or foundation. I learned at a very early age that homosexuality is considered an abomination. According to Genesis, thou shalt not lay with a man as thou shalt, or according to Genesis, there was a whole Sodom and Gomorrah incident where God had destroyed the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah for sin. And there's also Leviticus, which says, thou shalt not lay with a man as thou shalt lay with a woman. And that had a large impact on my psyche growing up. In fact, I remember one time, I think I was 9 years old, and I was in church, and I had gotten the kids' Bible for my mom, and that verse was in there, and I cried because I was aware of my feelings, but I couldn't exactly label them. I think I've actually been quite aware of being bisexual since I've been at least 4 or 5, because I remember having a crush on this boy named Alonzo Kuji and his older sister and not understanding why. And that caused me a good deal of hardship later on in life. Well, like I said, growing up, so with that being said, I didn't really have a stable or anyone I could really confide in with my own family because I was terribly afraid and I didn't want to get rejected and bullied. And then around second grade, my nephew started calling me Shamir the Queer because my name rhymed with it and because I was effeminate. And that little nickname he had given me had spread like wildfire to where everyone, even up until I had left Stockton, had been calling me that. And it was like needles being pushed into my skin, knowing that so many people who didn't even know me and wouldn't even give me a chance to get to know me would just prejudge me based on that solely. And it also led to a lot of people like bullying me and assuming that I was gay and treating me like crap, so much so that I actually spent a lot of my time just hiding in the library over at my elementary school and reading stories about mythology or just reading my Bible and hoping things would get better. And there's times I really wanted to break down. This started in elementary school, and for a while there wasn't even like there was no home for me at or there was no safe place for me. Like I got bullied and threatened at school. I had balls thrown at me literally every day up until about 5th grade. I At home my brother used to bully me around and call me a faggot, and he would punch me and he would wrestle, but he always hit me what seemed to be like a lot harder than he would hit my nephews. At church, even the current bishop's son, Jared, used to really bully me, and I think he had picked up on it too. Like he had spit on me before. He had a lot of people make fun of me and torture me around the playground and stuff, and I was really isolated. So to where I didn't have any place safe to go but the library or into my own video games like playing Pokemon, to where I just really didn't have anyone I could turn to. And this is before I really became aware. I didn't really know. I didn't really know I was bisexual until one day there was a girl I had liked who I walked home a lot. Her nickname is EJ, and I had liked her for about a month, and I really, really wanted to tell her. This was before my first relationship with a girl. Her name was Charlene, and I had told her that I wanted to tell her that I liked her, and so one day we were walking home, and I kept smiling, and I kept saying, wait, there's something I want to tell you when we get to the corner of where her house was. And I stuttered, I kept trying to say, I like you. I just kept saying, I. That dorky thing that people do when, they're really infatuated with someone. And instead of saying, I like you, I ended up saying, I'm bisexual. And she replied saying, oh, that's cool, I'll have bisexual friends. And the thing that amused me was I didn't know, or I didn't have a name for it until I had wanted to tell her that I liked her, and then even after she left, I was very confused that I had even admitted to that when I wasn't really accepting of it at the time. And once I had said the words, I guess I became really aware and began to just tell a few people that I had trusted. And what you learn early on is that you really can't be so open with some people about certain things, and they have to earn your trust and respect, and it caused like the whole shamir the queer thing to become a lot worse because people were definitely saying, oh yeah, I heard this about him from so and so, and it got so bad to where in 8th grade, these two boys, Mark, Ray, and Brandon Anikis, had really like bullied me around a lot and tortured me during my garden class. A side note is that I'm actually cool with both of them now, and they had later went on to apologize around sophomore year in high school. And this had caused a lot of problems because one time, like actually during this incident, I had got called into the principal's office because the two boys who were bullying me had taken my journal, which I had written poetry and other stuff in, and one of them was a little satire at the school. It was about the principal. The boys had taken it, and the teacher had taken it from them, and the principal had called them in and called me in and told me I was going to be in trouble for a lot of stuff. And my parents came in later, and they wanted to know why I was writing stuff and why I was getting bullied, and the fact that I couldn't tell them because I knew that there'd be huge repercussions had really stunted me and hurted me. My mom's a minister, and my dad is an usher or a deacon over at another church. So there was a lot of pressure to conform to a certain way. Although I do think my Christian religion for being a good foundation for me, it was very, very difficult. Like, I had internalized all the things I had heard about homosexuals or people who weren't heterosexual, all the negativity that I heard about how they're going to go to hell, how they're feminine, how they're going to get AIDS. All that became like a burning coal inside my heart that was destroying me for so long. Even in high school, I was really hoping things would get better, but they really weren't. Before high school started, my father was a carpenter, had fallen down a building a couple stories down and was hospitalized for a while. And I told him that when he got to the hospital, or I didn't mean to tell him, this actually involved the police, because I told my best friend Justin at the time, in the form of a letter, that I had had a boyfriend and that we had sexual relations. The problem with him being 18 and stuff, and me being 13 or 14 at the time, so somehow the principal got word and they called the police, who then went on to go tell my father, or call my father and tell him what was going on. And my father found out, and he was severely disgusted and upset. And when I got home, it wasn't that much better. He approached it like it was a cancer or something horrible that just couldn't be dealt with. And then the next day I came home from school, he had put a whole bunch of HIV and AIDS posters all over my room. And when I asked him what this is about, he said, that's what you can expect to get from being who you are. and that made me really lose a lot of respect for my father and for myself. And I was starting to see that, I mean, if this is going to be who I am, that's how I'm going to die, then so be it. My life has no value anyway. He constantly talked. Hold up. Okay. Speaking of webcam, he constantly talked about how homosexuals are going to go to hell and how I was being disrespectful to the church and him, and it led to him actually kicking me out of his house 6 times, and him a lot of arguments with him, one-sided, with me not wanting to talk back. I was always very meek because of that, and very shy, and it really hurt knowing that your own father is telling you that you're going to go to hell. When it comes to being bullied for being a certain racial group or religion, you know, at least within your own family, that you'll be safe, or you can confide in them, and to know that my own family couldn't even be there for me, and that no one really supported me, made me so isolated that it led to me actually trying to kill myself 6 times. Well, back to high school, it was really tough having a lot of people know about you without knowing you. So it was so bad that a lot of times when I walked down the street, like walked around the hallways in Edison, people would yell faggot or just a lot of really, for lack of a better word, fucked up things to me. It was so bad that there were some girls that I actually liked at Edison that I couldn't date because they assumed that I was gay, or after finding out that I was bi, they wouldn't want to date me because they said, "Oh, you're bisexual. You probably would just leave me for a guy anyway." And you're pretty much just associating me being bi with being promiscuous and unloyal. So my dating life was messed up, my family life was messed up, and school became a tremendous burden because I really didn't have anything to turn to. It wasn't until I really began to hang out with my friend Kevin, who was heterosexual, by the way, and my friend Justin, that I began to find some form of hope and some sort of form of structure. They both seemed to have really strong families that were unified, and I was always at either one of their houses, and that really helped me build, like, it helped me become stronger. Although I went through a lot in high school, later on I was able to be in all honors and AP classes, and I also did a couple of sports. I did cross country for a year, and I began to do track, and I had done basketball. The thing about basketball was that a lot of my teammates weren't really, like, it was my first time going out for playing basketball, and I hadn't really been that athletic, so I wasn't good. I was very awkward for a long time. And what made it worse, that really stunted my progress, was the fact that one day in the weight room, Tremaine Johnson, who's currently a football player, going to go for be in the NFL, he had asked me if it's true if I'm bisexual in the middle of the weight room in front of all the teammates, which was like 18 people at the time for the varsity, not counting the freshmen and everyone else. And that story, I mean, that caused like a lot of negative attention when I said yeah. It was so bad that my own teammates were bullying me a lot. They weren't allowing me to come into practice sometimes, pushing me out of drills. I actually got the weights in the weight room pushed on me before, and I did nothing to them at all. I was, I just tried to, I was actually trying to help some of them and try offering tutoring to them because I had like, a lot high GPAs and a lot of them did, and I was taking higher classes. And one particular event was it was summer league of my junior year, and a couple of boys had gone to go they had gone out and had gotten alcohol and got stuck with weed, and the police had caught them. So they were all in trouble, and I had left to go see if there's anything I can do about it. And later that evening, several of the boys tried jumping me. It was a boy named Anthony, Manuel Bontalon, Willie Williams, and a couple others. And at one point, it just became so hectic that I pulled out a knife, and I stayed awake for a full 24 hours because I didn't trust myself with either one of them. And I told the coach what happened, and the only thing he did, well, he didn't do anything that time. He just let the players come to practice